Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss a survey that is currently being conducted by our Community Development Department on all property that's located here in the City of Danville. We're referring to this survey as a building and property condition analysis. We have individuals that are out in our community, started a couple of weeks ago, compiling information about the condition of all property here in our city. On today's show, we're going to learn a lot more about this survey, learn about what type of information that's being gathered, and how we're going to utilize that information within the City of Danville and how it may become useful to you in the future as well. So joining me today, my guests are Jerry Rigney, who is our Inspections Division Director for the City of Danville, and also Diane Morris, who is our Housing and Development Division Director. Thank you all so much for doing this.
Thank you.
The first half of the show, Jerry, I want to talk with you because it's you and your staff that are actually collecting this data. And then Diane, in the second half of the show, I'll talk with you because I know your Housing and Development Division are going to be using this data for a variety of different things in the future. So,
right.
Jerry, I guess we'll start with you. And why did the city, I guess, feel that a survey was needed or a property condition analysis was needed on all property here in the City of Danville at this point in time?
Mark, I think that we need some type of baseline to determine the condition of our buildings and structures and also our vacant lots. We're also doing commercial buildings also.
Mm-hmm. And Diane, I know you can chime in on this too because your division thought it was a great idea as well.
Right. As we move around with our entitlement grant funds for the city, this will help us decide or let council decide where the need is and for future target areas.
Sounds good. And when we talk about target areas, I know we've worked closely in the Westmoreland community over the last 3 or 4 years, so that would be a target area I guess our viewers would be familiar with.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, Jerry, has there ever been a survey of this type done in the city that you're aware of?
A couple of years ago, the Inspection Division just decided to go out and search some properties to see what kind of condition we had in housing. Mm-hmm. We do also run the property maintenance code, and we were looking for concerns and issues dealing with property maintenance. And we chose the city, ran from one end to the other, east to west, north to south, and collected data. It was a quickly windshield survey done. Nothing really done with the information other than we used it within our office on property maintenance.
So how will that differ from what we're doing now? I guess this is a more in-depth survey.
This is a more detailed survey. Okay. It's being analyzed at a slower pace. Okay. They are looking at each structure individually and picking up specific items that we're looking for, such as abandoned vehicles, weeds, the condition of the house, whether it's severe need of painting, roof issues, if it's boarded or abandoned housing.
And now I know we started this process, I guess, the beginning of June, but they just started heading out into the community a couple of weeks ago as of this filming. Is that correct?
That's correct. Sometime in the early part of June 20, 21st, 22nd.
Okay. Now, are they going to be surveying all property, business and residential?
We're surveying all properties, buildings, commercial, residential, and vacant lots.
Okay, very good. Now, I guess the main thing our viewers are wondering when you were talking about all the different things they'll be looking at is how they're going to gather this information. Will they be on my property? I guess is probably the question you've been asked the most by our citizens. How will that work and how will that gathering process
It's a windshield survey taken from a vehicle, city vehicle. City vehicle marked with the yellow flashing lights on them. They are using an access program that was written by IT department in the City of Danville. A really great program. It's very easy to use, and it's basically just a yes, no, or good, fair, poor condition. They also have a spot for conditions which are not on the system that we may need to know at that time. Then once we get those conditions, we'll be able to go back out and look at those conditions and see if any special needs are there. Also, it's a great program, like I said. It's very simple to use, and it's easy to gather the information.
Now, how many parcels are in the city that will be surveyed? Do you know right offhand?
It's approximately 27,000 parcels in the city.
Wow. So we're going to be doing this for quite some time then?
We hope to finish sometime in December,
okay.
Late December.
All right, very good. Now, who will be collecting this data? And you kind of hinted at how it'll be recorded. I guess they'll have a laptop in their vehicle there that they'll be collecting the data with. But who do you have that will be collecting this data?
We are currently hiring and have hired 8 interns, and they're out each day doing surveys with 2 to a truck. One's driving and one's doing the actual survey. Okay. So we're still looking for a couple more interns if possible.
Okay.
That would help. Well, school will start soon, and it will limit our time with them to be able to work the hours we need.
Well, that's a great benefit for us because I know we don't have the staff in the city to handle such a large survey. So it's great to see. I guess these are DCC students, or
they're actually DCC Averett and some from the community college out of Martinsville.
Oh, well, that's a great benefit for us, and very cost-effective way to handle a survey as well. Correct?
Absolutely.
We went out and got a consultant who would have cost the city quite a bit of money.
Mark, one thing I'd like to say, they're doing an absolutely fantastic job. I've been really impressed in their dedication to this project.
That's great, and then maybe some information that that they'll be able to gather as they handle this survey that they'll be able to utilize once they graduate. Maybe come back and work for you one day.
Absolutely, I'd love to have some of them.
That's great, very good. Now, another thing that I want to stress here: will any pictures be taken of the properties during this particular part of the survey?
No, no pictures will be taken during this part of the survey. Okay. There may be some that we need to go back at a later date, and we will be doing that to take the pictures. Okay. To just create some type of format and baseline of what the houses look like.
Okay, very good. So if you do see someone out taking a picture of your property, call 911 because it's not the inspections division doing that at this point. Now tell me, we started this survey, you said, about the second week of June. As of this taping, the end of July, where are we currently at in the process, and where did we start? What particular area of the city did we start, and where will we be heading throughout the year?
Well, we started in the 58 East area. It was not very populated with housing. We thought that was a good training session so they could move on quickly and understand what we were looking for. One of the most important things, we're trying to get our data to be equal, that everybody looks at the house the same way. Okay. So we started in that area to educate them and bring them up to speed. They're practically doing about 2,000 inspections since we started. Okay. Some of them we have to go back because the program needs to be adjusted, and we're going back and looking at some of the housing already, or should I say vacant lots. Okay. So I assume that soon we get started, we'll be running about 5,000 a month.
Very good. Okay, great. Now, when do we hope to have all of this completed? You said by the end of 2010?
By the end of 2010, late December.
Okay, very good. Now, I know each week you are providing River City TV with an updated list of where you all will be within the city of Danville, and we're putting that on the scroll at the bottom of the screen. But I know you're distributing this information to a lot of other entities. So if I'm curious of when you'll be in my neighborhood, on my street, where can I find that information?
We also having it at the Resident Bee newspaper. Okay. We're having it in Piedmont Shopper. One of the radio channels is advertising for us.
Great.
We also run it, like you said, on TV 20. It's on our website, and we've been using the reverse 911 system for calling.
Okay, and that'll notify you a day or two in advance before we're there. You'll receive an automated message on your phone.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Now, Jerry, I know we've got about 5 minutes left in this first segment, but have you been receiving calls from the citizens? And if you have, what are some of the questions that they have about this survey so far that you've received?
We have received right many calls about the survey, and our name and number is on there for you to call.
Right, that's great.
We're welcome for you to call. Mm-hmm. Most all citizens I've talked to have been really nice, really receptive to it. They just have some questions about they call it an inspection. It's not really an inspection, it's a survey, and we'll be doing it from the windshield. Okay. But they've been really nice, been very cooperative, and very interested in the program.
Sounds good. Now, let's reiterate for our viewers again. They will be in your neighborhood. They will be in a marked vehicle.
That's correct.
Flashing yellow lights.
That's correct.
They will not be getting out of the vehicle. For the most part, you said if it gets in some populated areas, on a nice day, they may walk that area. Is that correct?
There are some streets that are very narrow, and there's cars parked on both sides, and it becomes a a traffic issue with them slowly moving down the road with cars passing. So they may at times need to get out, but they should not go on anyone's property. They will always stay in the right of way.
Sounds good. Okay, and they will be out and about till the end of December, and you can find all the information right here on River City TV on our bulletin board. And just to go back, because we touched on this earlier in the segment, some of the things they'll be looking for and how that will be beneficial for our citizens that are watching this show.
Well, we would collect this data, and it would be given to Housing Division to start working with it and manipulate the information
Right.
to provide other documentation with it so we can use it to how do we make our city better.
Okay.
We're going to look at areas of needs. We're also going to look at energy conservation measures, so for replacement windows, whether they have upgraded air conditioning, if you can see it from the street. There's different things we're looking at as we're making this survey. We're also going to roll over the real estate information, telling when the actual house was built. And by the way, the year that it was built in, we can identify that a certain percentage of them have had upgrades, but a lot of them may not have upgrades.
So we've got a lot of divisions that are coming together to work on this survey that are really going to be beneficial for our citizens for, seems like many years to come.
Absolutely. This would be a super survey that could be used for at least 8-10 years out.
Always great to have the data on hand.
Absolutely.
It's kind of tough to fly blind when you don't have that data. So, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today and give us some insight on the survey. We'll talk to you a little bit in the second half of the show as well. But, Diane, when we come back from break, I want to bring you on and talk a little bit more about how we'll utilize this data. As Jerry mentioned, we're going to be gathering quite a bit of information over the next 6 months or so, and we'll talk about how we'll utilize that within the city of Danville. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. Today we're talking about a survey that's currently being conducted here in the City of Danville by our Community Development Department. We're terming it the Building and Property Condition Analysis, where we have interns within our Community Development Department are going out and surveying all property here within the City of Danville, finding out their condition and gathering a lot of information that will be useful for our Community Development Department here in the city, and also will benefit you as well for many years to come, as we learned in the first half of the show. Again, my guests this week are Jerry Rigney, our Inspection Division Director within the Department of Community Development, and also Diane Morris, who is our Housing and Development Division Director. Thank you all again for joining us. And Jerry, I know we spent most of the first half of the show talking about this survey, so Diane, I definitely want to talk about the information that we will be gathering and how your division will be utilizing that information. And I guess, when will you all start receiving the information from the Inspections Division?
We should start receiving it as we speak.
Okay,
The students that are out there right now will be bringing back the information. And we do have an intern in the office already who will start downloading this data and access on a regular basis, and she'll start compiling that data as we need it. And she'll be getting other information as well for these neighborhoods.
Very good. So she'll be working hand in hand, of course, with Jerry's office to do that. And then the other information, what would that be?
We're going to ask her to compile the information based on census tract block group demographics, and that is because that's a national known tracking mechanism used by census, and as you apply for grant funds or look for certain areas within the city, you can break it down census block group. We can also that way determine the income levels of those neighborhoods. We can look at different demographics as far as crime is related, market conditions that we can get from the Board of Realtors, sales of the homes in the neighborhoods, and all that information will be compiled. And at that time, it would be presented to the city manager and city council for them to give us direction as to which neighborhoods need what